Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit different for our metagame breakdown. So normally what we do is we cover each of the best decks in each format on MTG Arena every week, but I'm going to be completely transparent. It is pretty stale here in Standard Best of One world. We can see really quick on the screen the popularity of decks. It's basically been me talking about mono white humans, mono red burn, mono red aggro, Selesnya enchantments, various miscellaneous black decks. We get a smattering of blue white control mixed in, and here's some Atraxa just for good measures. So while we will continue to kind of do that and look at the highlights for those who do want to play more competitive, it's the summer months, Magic's kind of dulled down. It's usually this case in the summer. So we're going to be looking at today 5 decks in Standard Best of One that have above average win rates, maybe not the same volume of games. And I tried to keep the rankings as high as possible, whether it be Mythic or Diamond rank, but tried to find some unique decks, maybe just some fun things that you can take to the ladder, kind of break the monotony of, my mono white deck versus your mono red deck for the 19th time to date. So we're going to take a look and we're going to jump into 5 decks. The stats are going to be coming from Untapped GG, what you see on the screen. It's a companion tool, aggregates your win rate, puts it with other users, gives us a whole bunch of cool stats. If you want to check it out, link is in the video description. You can let them know that I sent you there, and I'll paste all these deck lists, timestamp them for your own entertainment. So we're going to jump in. So this deck list is from Mythic rank. I looked since the bans, so a good month and a half of data, almost 2 months of data. And we are looking at a 56% win rate deck. This is Boros Aggro. So I didn't say we were looking at just mono red, didn't say we were just looking at mono white, but it's kind of a mashup of both, and it gives us access to a couple synergies in the fact that there are a lot of ways to kind of put counters onto things. And the Dusk Legion Duelist is a card that whenever one or more counters gets put onto it, you get to draw cards. So it triggers only once per turn, but for an aggressive deck, this is something that is beneficial to be able to kind of refill your hand. You can put counters on it with like Kumano. The Siege Veteran could put a counter on it every turn. The Thundering Raiju can as well. When you attack, the modified theme also works nice with Thundering Raiju. That allows you to deal incidental damage. You have a number of incidental soldiers as well between Brutal Cathar, Siege Veteran, Thalia. The Duelist itself is a vampire soldier, so kind of some cool synergy there. Some Skrulls for protection, Thalia for tax, Brutal Cathar and Ossification as removal, and then like Adeline to go wide, get a push through some damage, and then Squee, just a recursive kind of go wide threat. So you have like Adeline going wide, you have Squee going wide, you have Thundering Raiju and Siege Veteran looking to go tall and make you big creatures, so you can attack at a couple different angles. You also have like the Feldin as a way to kind of draw cards as well. The one thing I would say in this mana base is you could probably afford to play 4 and 4. You have the 4 Battlefield Forge, 4 Sundown Pass. 16 basics is quite a lot for the 2 ossifications. You can forego and go with just the 14 in that case. We'll then go to Selesnya Humans. So this is an interesting deck. So while we do have like mono white humans, this green version gives us access to some cards that doesn't see as much play in the standard format. So notably, you get access to both Sigardas. So Sigarda Champion of Light, and just for reference, this is Diamond to Mythic rank, 59% win rate in that setting. So Sigarda Champion of Light is a Lord effect for your humans. Flying Trample 4/4 for 4 on its base side, and then Coven, so when it attacks, you have 3 or more different powers. You could reveal a human from the top 5 cards, so kind of card advantage in that sense. You pair that with Sigarda Font of Blessings, which give your other permanents hexproof, and then lets you cast angels or humans from the top of your library. So both are providing kind of pseudo card advantage in different manners. So a lot of times with these aggressive decks, you drop your initial hand. This allows you to kind of refill it in that regard. You are playing powerful humans, like Hopeful Initiate sees play in Pioneer Explorer, even in the historic builds, Thalia the same, Coppercoat Vanguard, Adeline, Brutal Cathar all mixed in. But then we're including like Catilda to help you ramp, fix your mana, and is a good mana sink late game, especially with anything that has Vigilance. You can attack and come back. Malira is a protection spell, so usually the biggest thing is you want your Adeline to survive. So this can kind of keep your Adeline alive, or any of your kind of angel, stuff of that nature. Hamlet Vanguard could come in and become a very large attacker, thanks to just looking at the number of non-token humans you control. Also having Ward can kind of tax removal. And then King Darian as another Lord effect and a mana sink for tokens. Knight Errant of Eos for some more card advantage. So this version's got like a lot of ways to draw cards where the mono white version doesn't necessarily have that. We'll then go to Fight Club time. Diamond to Mythic, 56%. So we've seen some variations on like the Dimir fight mechanic. So basically not all in, but having some access. So you have Phyrexian Obliterator and then Bushwhack that if you target the Obliterator, they sack a bunch of things. This is kind of like a Golgari mid-range deck. You have a lot of the powerful elements of the black-based deck. So Gix Command, Shieldred Apocalypse, Shieldred Regular, Trespassers, bunch of strong removal, but then you're also offset like Terra Sunder, flexible removal, can hit artifacts, enchantments, or just exile creatures. Glissa wins a lot of the creature combat mirrors, just having access to First Strike Death Touch, and then has a lot of useful utilities if it does connect on your opponent. Card advantage in Phyrexian Arena, and then you have a copy of Urborg Scavengers. So this kind of takes, so it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile target card from a graveyard, you put a counter on it. Then it has fly, so basically it steals the abilities of those creatures. So it can steal Menace, Death Touch, Trample, First Strike, Death Touch. So you could kind of build and assemble your own Omega kind of Soul Herder style, or not Soul Flare kind of effect. The one thing, just looking at this mana base, I wouldn't play Field of Ruin in a deck that's so mana hungry. I would just cut that and then play another Swamp most likely. Just to kind of accommodate the mana base being like quad black. And best of one, you don't really need Field of Ruin. So then jumping over, we have Jeskai Control. So this is a deck Platinum to Mythic that did 58% win rate. So if I had to guess, this is probably Sonio's list. Just seems like something they would play. But this is a creatureless control deck, and it's looking to leverage Mind Splice Apparatus to reduce the cost of your instants and sorceries. And then ideally copying effects with like Chandra. You can make a bunch of tokens with Burn Down the House. You have White Sun's Twilight as a way to win. You can kind of Galvanic Iteration those effects. Then you have Devious Cover Up, 2 copies. So you can effectively just keep putting cards back into your library. Draw a bunch of cards, and then put those cards back into your library after you cast them, and just rinse and repeat, and just eventually use this White Sun's Twilight over and over and over again to kind of immortalize your opponent. Things like with X spells, so March and Syncopate just kind of get better. Basically, X just becomes whatever the Mind Splice ability is. You have Chandra to double spells as well as Galvanic Iteration. So just a strong control deck. Fires of Victory is a way to deal creatures and draw you cards as well. And then lastly, we have Orzhov Phyrexian. So not necessarily the highest win rate, 54%. Usually when I do the meta, I look 55, 56 as the basis. But again, just kind of looking to see, are there different kind of decks or things to try out to have some fun. So this one's probably more in the fun of category. If you're trying to like push necessarily to Mythic, might not be the wisest of decisions, but this deck here, Platinum to Mythic, 54%, and it's playing the Phyrexian sub-theme. So while Shieldred is powerful in a lot of decks, it also happens to be a Phyrexian Praetor, pairing that with like Elesh Norn as a way to like sack tokens or just kind of tax your opponent. Everything that mono red does will like deal them damage if they don't do. There's a lot of creature decks looking to win through damage. You have access to like Bloated Processor, so you can sack other creatures and kind of play the counter, so if they kill that, and then when it dies, you can get a token to incubate. Phyrexian Censor kind of taxes your opponent nicely, makes their creatures come into play tapped, some value that way. You have a Lord effect and Grafted Butcher, Norn's Inquisitor as another way to kind of take advantage of the Incubate sub-theme. Skrelv's Hive for Mites, Skrelv itself, Progenitor Exarch, just a lot of ways to kind of make tokens in this deck, whether it be the Incubator or just kind of Mite tokens itself. Removal and Go for the Throat kind of mixed into there with the Gix command. And then just you have the utility lands in both the Seed Core, which can tap for either color Phyrexian mana in this deck, as well as the Myrex to make you more Phyrexian Mite tokens. That's it for the week. Just kind of highlighting some new, fresh decks. We'll be back next week with a full wave of metagame breakdown videos, and then we'll look at the other formats itself. But just wanted to put something out on a Saturday afternoon for folks to try out some new decks, have some fun, and enjoy the summer months while we wait for Eldraine, which cannot be out fast enough. I am looking forward to some Eldraine, some adventures. In any case, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great one, and stay safe out there.